that was the first encounter that I had with that black shadow. The black shadow actually ends up following me the rest of the night. Not only in that room, but down in the living room, in the kitchen. We actually believe that during the course of that investigation, because the legend, if you don't know it, what had happened was there was a family of 6, and then 2 neighborhood friends were spending the night. All 8 people were killed in that house. The murder to this day is unsolved. They have speculation. They thought they knew who it was, but no one was ever arrested for it. Later, after this picture was taken, there was a point where Terry and I were still in this room. Vicky and our other teammate Stephanie were in the parents' room, which, if you go past where the closet door is, the rooms were, I would say, probably 5 feet apart. And then there's an attic doorway between them, which is supposedly where the killer hid while he waited for the family to go to bed. So Terry and I are in this room, Vicky and Stephanie are in the parents' room. They start talking about how cold it was. Granted, when we were there, it was middle of September. It was probably 85, 90 degrees outside. The house was hot the whole night. But they got cold right across from us.
It felt like you opened the door to a refrigerator, and it just come on us all of a sudden.
While this room was still warm. All of a sudden, this room goes cold. Their room is warm. So we're going back and forth talking about this temperature change. We finally end up deciding to take a break and go downstairs. We walk out of this room. Of course, by this time, all 4 of us are sitting in this room. Go through the parents' room and go to walk down the stairs. As soon as we got to the top of the stairs and started going down, I mean, it was like walking in a freezer.
It got colder and colder.
It was probably 30 degrees as we walked down the stairs into the kitchen. But the kitchen and the front living room was nothing but a doorway, that you could walk through that doorway. It's like walking through a wall. You got cold and hot. We couldn't explain it. So we went outside, we took a break, we came in, it was gone. The house, the temperature was all back up to what it normally was. What we figured was that we had followed the reenactment of the murders. So the cold spot that we were following, we were actually following the killer as he went from one room to the next and killed everyone in the house. Once we got back to Quincy from that, I had lasting effects from this house for probably a week. To a point where I had to contact a couple of my friends just to help me get through it. And I was suffered from a really bad depression. I just didn't feel right. I could tell I brought something back with me. Whatever it was that followed me in the house that night. It lasted about a week and it tapered off. And I haven't felt it since.
And I'm not, as he knows very well, I'm not an emotional person. It takes a lot to get me really worked up. And they basically, he's passed away, but Darwin, who owned the home, him and his wife, basically went through and tried to put the same type of furniture in there that was there then. And one of the things that they had in the parlor area, which nowadays we call the living room, is a big old upright piano. And I was sitting there and I was playing a little bit on it, carrying on, and then I just stopped and we got to talking, and all of a sudden, this just horrible sadness come over me. Just my eyes teared up, and I put my hands first, and I just bawled like a baby. And it was like, I never do this, ever. I mean, even in the saddest things, I can pretty much control it. And I was just like, oh. And then it just went away. It was like, it was gone, and I've never felt it anywhere else like that. It was just really strange.
I will have to agree with Wendy when she says, have respect for the dead.
Yes.
Vicky and I made the mistake of going in the attic when we first got there, and I don't know if it was residue from the killer or what it was, but both of us we became overcome with anger. And we weren't very nice to whatever was in the attic. We basically called him out for what he was. And I think that may have had a lot to do with why I was picked out And one of the stories was that the killer was actually hired to kill the father by one of his business rivals. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I was the only guy in the house at the time. And I think the main reason I want to go back is just because of everything that happened the last time we were there. It's more of a confront my attacker, confront my fear. I think I'm more prepared for it. I wasn't before I heard the stories, but I wasn't expecting anything to happen like it did. So now I've got to go back and face it again.